United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thanks. We have a good crowd here tonight. We have a lot on our agenda, so we'll get into it. But what I thought we'd do, we have 3 public hearings scheduled for tonight. We'll be doing all 3. In the interim, it's just a little tour of our building. We had Montgomery Place and Bard do an installation. They opened it up for Red Hook First Friday Night Lights on, I guess that was December 1st, so they left it up a little bit. So take a break or intermission, you could roam around, look at that, or come back another day. It's kind of designed for people to wander in and look at it. I did take down one piece so I could put my illustrations on this wall over here. And then, so we'll just set up, we'll do a little housekeeping first, and then we'll get into the public hearings and so forth. So bear with me a moment. Let's see, I thought we would go through the minutes. They were circulated to all of you, and you've had a chance to go through them. They look good to me, and I would entertain a motion, but ask first if anybody has any additions, alterations, or corrections. Everybody good? Is there a motion then to accept those minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Just as a pointer, we're using the minutes simply this time because there was only one meeting in November. Most months we have 2, but we did away with the workshop that month. Just between the holidays and different things going on, it was a little bit of a busy month. So thank you on that. You said before we jump into the 3 public hearings, we do have the benefit of a report from the Red Hook Fire Company back there. So each month we're getting some updates and more communications with them. So we'd ask them to come up, and the reason we get them up first and get out in case they need to drive a fire truck somewhere or an ambulance. So you take that and we'll let them do the report.
Hello, my name is Keith McGilvery. I'm the Vice President of the Red Hook Fire Company. There were a total of 78 calls for the month of November. There was 41 fire calls and 37 EMS calls. I can leave you with this document.
Okay, thanks. You could hand to Jay. It'd be a little easier for you.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming in, Keith. And any other news you want to pass along? Or
We're in the middle of training with
okay, yeah.
some that's why I had to come over today. They're doing some EMS training, and the guy that normally comes is in the middle of that, so they're doing some new stuff with some ambulance stuff, and be ready to so
Good. Thanks for coming in, Keith.
Thanks.
good night.
Okay. Yeah, both. Okay, what we'll do is we'll open up the first public hearing, which is dedicated to the sewer law we'll be working on here tonight. So what I would ask for, I'll make a motion that we open up the public hearing so we can get input on sewer law, which is on our table here to be reviewed. It's been on our website and it's been available. So I'd offer as a motion. Is there a second to open the public hearing?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
So we're open. Generally at a public hearing, we take input from the public. Not that everybody knows all the details of the sewer project, but it's a phased project where we have a service area that encompasses both commercial and residential areas within what would be the central village area, so to speak. What I have up on the charts on the wall is some terms and acronyms we kick around. Benefit units, and what we have is in a residential world, we're considering a person or household, the typical household in the village, to be consuming 150 gallons per day of water, and that's how we assign benefit units. And if you go through this list, it's a spreadsheet that shows the 127 properties that will be within the service area, and based on water records and so forth, what they've been consuming over the past couple of years. And then, as you know, water coming into a building in general, in most cases, goes out in the form of septic or sewage. What we've done is to recap a few things more for the audience, we have a designed $4.9 million project. What I mean by that is in hypothetical, that's its projection of cost. It involves us taking over an existing sewage treatment facility, it involves us installing a lot of mains and laterals and so forth, all in a way to keep the central business area vibrant but alive while we're doing it. It's not, the design is not to really knock things apart in order to make it better. The 4.9, it's important to say, just so you all know, it's being funded through New York State EFC, which is a funding agency with with short-term funding. And then we have a letter of commitment from the USDA Rural Development, which is a 38-year commitment on long-term money. The way we build our projects, like our water project, is use the short-term money up front and then close with the long-term money once the project is done. The good news is in the USDA funding package of the 4.9 million, 3.7 would be borrowed money, and 1.2 million would be pure outright grant. And then in the month of October here, 2017, we got supplemental good news from a new program in New York State where it's an acronym WIA, another acronym you might hear bantied about, Water Infrastructure Improvement Act. They gave us $925,000 new money toward the sewer project. So when one does the math, and the number is about 43% of the project is essentially funded by the two grants that I just mentioned, the 1.2 and the 925,000, which we feel is good. The board has taken steps in the past to pass a bond resolution. The board has moved ahead. We have studies underway. We've had 4 or 5 stakeholder meetings. Every person on the system has been invited, and we've shown PowerPoints and different things, and we've invited people in for many, many months to come and get details about the system and how it applies to them. And that is still underway. If letters are going out to everybody on the system, having them come in. So what we need, as you know, the reason we're doing this is because the Village of Red Hook has no sewer system right now. We have a water system, and within our code, we have plenty of regulations and administrative rules how we own and operate our water system. Right now, we do not own and operate a sewer system, so we have to create that. So probably about March, sometime in that time frame, if I remember right, we started to write the law. We have an engineer, CTML, contracted with us, and we have them in the audience. And with them, we have a subcontractor engineering firm, Ryan Biggs, a representative from them, is also here. Since we're essentially drawing it from the ground up, we got help. We have to mimic other municipalities. We have to comply with DEC and different rules. At the same time, we have to build it unique to ours. Ours is a step sewer system. It's not a gravity system, so we had to have a lot of engineering in the creation of the rules because it's the nature of our system. So anyway, what I handed out and the board has had for a while now is a 56-page document that essentially embodies what would be the Village of Red Hook sewer law. Our intention is to take comment, but I could just hit, it's very technical, and if you go through the title might be, there's articles within the title. It's essentially just called sewers. It starts off, if you're in the service area rather, use of public sewers will be required. Then there are subheadings that deal with private wastewater disposal, new sewers or sewer extensions, then the building laterals, street laterals, connections and fees, inflow, trucked and hauled wastes, discharge restrictions, discharge permits, enforcement and penalties, charges, public disclosure of publicly owned treatment operation, and then a severability conflicts type blanket statement at the end. But in essence, this will be the body of the text of how we will operate and administer the sewer system once it's up and running. People in this document, there's a section how charges will be incurred. We will have a separate public hearing on that coming down the road. We'll talk about later in the main body of the meeting. But essentially, we looked at benefit units and then the gallonage consumed, and then we looked at the cost of the money that we could get. And the number we've been pushing out is $780 per benefit unit, and that's before the $925,000 supplemental grant came in. But as far as this is a necessary step for us to take, the board, like I said, has had this, but I would welcome input from the public and amongst the board we could talk to if there's questions on the board. But I see some new faces. We would ask that if you do have a question, just stand up, and it's better for us if you take a mic so you can be heard on Panda. And we would welcome your input. And we're talking just now on the sewer project and the embodiment of the sewer law. Anybody have any comments out there? I know a few people came in to be here for it. Everybody.
Just one clarification is that of that $780, I believe 495, close to 500 for the capital cost of construction. The rest of it's for operating and maintenance costs. So that's split up. And that's a first year estimate of operating maintenance costs. And we try to be fair with that number. And so we don't see increases, dramatic increases or losses as time goes forward. So, and basically the debt obligation is based on the capital costs. So that's what we'll be paying back. And that'll hold pretty close. And then we'll factor that in, I guess, with that new grant to see what it will do to hopefully reduce that cost. And no guarantees because, you know, I think we're looking until the project is complete to see if there's any cost overruns. Hopefully there isn't. I know our engineer Ed Vopolak is busy working, trying to gather information from all the property owners to make the design documents as complete and thorough as possible to minimize any change orders or increases in costs. So we've been very thorough and appreciate our associate engineers' work on this sewer use law. It's a lot of time spent on that. You were telling me what started at 86 pages? So we're down to 57, 56, so that's pretty good. Thank you for your work.
And we had a lot of Friday sessions between, seems to be around March when Brent and I started writing, and engineers and lawyers and everybody got involved. And just so everybody knows, the engineers wrote it, and our lawyers looked at it and gave input. We gave input, and when I say engineers, we have design engineers working on the system, and then the second firm, Ryan Biggs, like I said, is some subcontractor to them. They looked at similar systems. We looked at Hillsdale, where they have a step system, and was Kinderhook another one? And so we incorporated that, and that's why it's different than if you had an old-fashioned gravity system. A lot of the concepts are different, so they have to be dealt with here. And if you flip through it, read through it, you know, you'll see it's a lot of technical wording. That's what we would need in our code when we start construction and billing and managing it once it's up and running. So Brent gave some comment from the board. I know one or two people came in, but I'm not hearing any comment. Anything else from anybody? What we'll do is tonight I'd like to close the public hearing, and then later on in the main meeting we'll act on adopting the sewer law. But we do it in 2 steps. We don't do it in the public hearing. I'm just curious, is the house, can you hear our voices okay? Yeah, okay. All right, so unless anybody wants to say anything, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye.
I'll second it.
All right.
Sorry.
Put that aside, we'll come back to the law, and we should, in your packets, you would have the resolution that we'll deal with later on. If you could go to your packets, board members, the next one on the public hearing list says 7:15. We actually have like a minute. I see our engineers moving in their seats. I really think, unless the board has any objection, when we deal with it later on, you're gonna stay? Okay. Okay. No, we had the engineers here for any technical questions, things that might supersede our working knowledge. You know, we are pretty involved in a lot of steps with it. It's but we would let anybody that wants to go there, and we'll move into the regular. Well, the next public hearing rather says 7:15. It looks like I'm saying it's 7:14. So we'll wait a minute just to be chronologically accurate. Okay, I would ask the board to move toward the second public hearing, dealing with the best value law. We have it marked for 7:15 PM. I would make a motion that we open that public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So it's open. In your packet, board members, we have the best value standard. This is from the monstrous blue book that we have. I see Charlie's got it in the corner by him. It's the NICOM review of municipal law as it deals with everything that the village works with, but this area we're dealing with is procurement and purchasing. And I attached a second page for everybody that has in words, in a quotation, the word piggybacking. So what we want to do to adopt best value standard, we do have to modify through the normal law process our procurement section of our code. So that's why we're having a public hearing tonight, and then we'll work on it again later tonight. But in essence, we've talked about it as a board in earlier meetings, and historically, municipal law requires when a bid packet is let out that we let to the lowest responsible bidder, which even though that sounds pretty normal and effective, it's oftentimes not. The best value standard, though, only applies to purchase contracts. It does not apply to capital, which essentially means construction projects. It doesn't apply to us building things or digging sewer systems, that sort of thing. It's really just for things we buy or contract for as far as services. Page, let's see, in the best value standard page, I put an arrow on mine and I call it the middle paragraph on page numbered 18.5. It says, unlike the lowest responsible bidder standard, the best value standard allows the selection of a higher offer as long as there is evidence that the initial investment will ultimately result in cost savings, higher quality products, or greater efficiency. Like I said, it's not to build a sidewalk or to do anything like that. It's more service contract type stuff. It gives us, back I think it was 2011, on the top of the page, the state passed legislation to authorize use of best value as opposed to lowest responsible bidder. And then it says up there, a municipality must pass a local law if they wish to utilize the new standard. So that's what I'm interested in doing for a couple of reasons. One is we're talking about with regard to the LED lighting project. Essentially, will be part of an effort to send out RFPs. It's my understanding there's probably like 40 or so firms that are being solicited for RFP. And we'll have to have a schematic or an analytic way to do this, but we don't necessarily want the lowest bidder in a case like that. We want somebody that we're convinced will return for service and do different things when we need them. So I think this best value standard gives us those options. And the related thing, the piggybacking text, which is on page 18.18, that doesn't require a change in our law per se, but I wanted to, no pun intended, piggyback it on our best value statements because what it does, if you look at that, there are some prerequisites, but essentially it's a procurement method where a government agency that has already gone through the procurement process and awarded a contract to one or more vendors, we can utilize what they've found and are using. A couple examples could also be we want to upgrade our website, and the town of Reddick went through a big process to select a new web developer, and we can join on for far less than if we went out and did it ourselves. And we've looked at the product and different things, and we can get it. We can be part of it. Essentially, we'd be piggybacking on their efforts. So the two, in my opinion, go hand in hand. That's the description. So if anybody in the audience had any input on the public hearing side on that. It sounds quiet from the audience. So from the board level, I know we've talked about it a little bit. The piggybacking is a little bit newer wrinkle, but council include that in the text of what we'll be working on later. I have to make sure my paper clips pull it all back together. And then in relation to that tonight, we'll also be working on taking another step on the LED light project. But let me see here. I'll put that over here. Seeing no comment from the field, did I see a hand waving or anything from the board? I'd move that we close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. So the best value public hearing is closed. The last one for public hearings tonight, we do have set for 7:30. I hate to say it, but probably to be physically correct, why don't we move into a little of our other business, just in case somebody's coming at 7:30, we wouldn't want them to miss. A few that are here for that, if you wouldn't mind, we'll do 8 minutes or 10 minutes of business, and we'll open that in a moment. In our normal meeting order, we have we've done the minute approval. We would ask the treasurer / clerk Shirella to give us the treasurer's report.
Account balances, the general fund, $547, 540, yeah. What am I thinking here? 54700, what am I doing?
I'll do it for you.
Let me continue.
Okay.
Water fund, we'll go to the water fund, $138,319.40. General fund, 540, why am I blank on that? Oh my God.
Uh-oh.
Trust and agency, $31,795.78. Materials management, $4,460.22. Petty cash, $38.32. Village Green, $4,136.88. Hard Scrabble, $5,203.84. Health insurance, $4,967.63. That's the same balance as last month because we have to change passwords in the accounting program and it won't let me change it in that.
So that's the deductible. Has it really hit?
It's about the same because it's slowed down. General fund expenses, $76,824.42. Water fund, $100,489.68. Trust and agency, $31,795.78. And materials management, $3,341.71. And
Do you have the commas in your head there for the top one, or?
just wait a minute. Water fund is high
Yeah.
because we paid $77,000 on phase 2.
72,000.
72,000.
Okay. Yeah.
That's interest payment.
No, it's principal payment.
It was-
Oh man, it's good. I can explain in a minute. But I would. Do you want to read the general fund balance just so we have that?
540. Just say it. I'm like, oh, what's wrong?
Okay. I don't know. Did we have to send you
ahead.
to get your glasses adjusted?
I don't
or
know.
something? The general fund, it's a decent balance, more than she's trying to say it is there. $547,136.
Yeah,
45
it's
cents.
good, especially
A few bucks over $500,000. Yeah, on the water fund, it does catch your eye that it's a pretty heavy number, but we'll explain that. If one goes and remembers phase 2 water, we were originally closing with EFC short-term money to convert to USDRD long-term money, and we wanted to close by January 8th, 2018, which was the end of the EFC money allowance to us. The good news then, through that WIA grant we talked about for the sewer that gave us $925,000, we got $2.28 million from water, the drinking water fund of WIA. Pardon me?
2.23.
Well, you're taking the 50,000 off, right?
Anyway,
Um,
close to that.
but it's what that did for us. EFC wanted us to close by January 8th. Then EFC is giving us $2.2+ million. And we said, well, okay, you're the agency administering the grant, and you're the agency administrating the closing for us to give you $3.8 million, but we really only now owe you $1.5 million. So what they did, they created a 6-month extension to close between EFC and USDA. And the good news is we only owe $1.5 million instead of $3.8 million. So that being said, since some timing of the loan, we had to pay $72,000 in principal, which will reduce the $1.5 million by $72,000. So it doesn't hurt us. It's just we had to make a payment. And the good news is on the money side, we thought by now we would be paying some interest to USDA, having closed on that loan, and the interest would have been $72,000. So by good planning and some fortuity. The two numbers were the same, and they're in the budget at 72,000. And so instead of 1.5 million, it's really 1.43 million that we'll be borrowing, and it's all good, but it's a lot of math going on there. So that's why the big number is there. It's not money that we're throwing away, which is a good thing, and it's not interest, it's principal. I think you also made a $6,000 interest payment this month on EFC money. So, but long story short, we are doing the processing to close on the USDA part with EFC, and it'll probably happen now, probably January, I guess we're thinking, because we have going into a couple holidays and end of the year for a lot of employees up in the different agencies. So that's the answer there. So we have heard the treasurer's report. We explained pieces of it. Looking at the fiscal year, the good part is these are numbers up to 11 December, and the end of November would really be our 6-month point. So when I was looking at some of our big budget items, the big lines are holding right about 50% of what we budgeted, which is a good thing.
I do have a list of some.
Pardon me?
I do have a list. We'll go over
You go
this.
through your vouchers. But anyway, I would ask that we consider accepting the treasurer's report. Is there a second?
Second.
Any other thoughts or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. I don't quite have 7:30 yet, so I'll do a police report. In our audience, we don't have a presenting officer, so I'll read it. For the month of November, looks like it's holding about the number we see, 318 incidents. The breakout is Village of Red Hook 229, Town of Red Hook 84, Village of Tivoli 5. That resulted in traffic tickets in the count of 131, and Village of Red Hook has 69, and that includes 4 parking tickets, and Town of Red Hook has 62. That's pretty interesting. They're almost on, that's a trend. That number has historically been lower. Like some audience members might remember, we talked about last month, the town and their new budgets has been giving the village a little more money, and then the upcoming year they're going to increase the budget a little more, so they're getting a little more time from our officers. So but that's interesting. 69, 62, it's pretty much dead even in my mind. And arrests, looks like 30, breaks out 11 in the Village of Red Hook and 19 in the Town of Red Hook. So we are seeing some parking ticket activity the past several months, which is something. For personnel, let's see, I'll slip to Red Hook together. I did go to a meeting. I was teasing them there a little bit. Historically, they used to meet 11:30 p.m. Right, Brent, we would attend them together. The last one, they set it for 11, but then the last minute they moved it to 9:30 a.m., which is pretty early, I think, for all of us. And by that I mean we get people from the schools, the libraries, Bard College, the community center, Chamber of Commerce. It's a pretty big group of folks, but they did start at 9:30, and they've been using the community center as the meeting point, which makes some sense. They have a great facility there, and a lot of the events can be held there now. It's a big space. Everybody, what happens is each entity there reports what we're up to, and the biggest outcome from it is that people all know what's going on with their different agencies as far as events, calendar type events, fun events, things that make some sense for the community, and we all work together so we're not blindsiding each other with calendar events. And then insurance, just one thing we'll talk later in the main body. The heavy plow truck is coming in probably late next week, so I have updated our insurance policy to get that included on the policy, and so that should be. We have the spare set of keys right now, so technically it's in many ways ours. So I want to have it insured, so it is. How are we looking? I got 7:30. All right, so we'll shift off that. Uh-oh. If you all could poll, you have a packet there. And we'll open up a public hearing. I labeled mine moratorium public hearing. And one of yours should say Village of Red Hook local law. And then a separate stapled group saying resolution of the village board. Feels like I'm losing my voice here. I'll have to take a cup of water, but I would ask that at 7:30 we open the public hearing on the moratorium in the general business district. Maybe, Jake, could you read the heading on that? Excuse me.
This guy right here?
It says a local law placing.
Yes, I'd be happy to. Resolution by the Village Board of the Village of Red Hook authorizing adoption of a local law placing a 6-month moratorium on all applications and permits for demolition of a structure over 120 square feet and for establishment, expansion, or modification of a motor vehicle service station in the General Business District, GB District.
Thank you, sir.
You bet.
I will try to continue. I caught myself a bad cold around Thanksgiving, and for some reason I can't shake a little bit at the tail end of it. But I did, the board is familiar with our pattern book. It's something we had done maybe, 3 years ago? We had a grant and different funding sources. We had professionals study the village architecture and the village center and take input. I thought I'd show as an exhibit that what we got is, it's our goal to move further and further toward implementing a lot of the things that are in here. And in the end, we would like to revise a lot of our zoning code, but we have a need to take it in increments. And with the public hearing open, I just thought to remind the board and the public that we do have this pattern book for development as we'd like to see it. And I had tabbed the page here, and but what we could do is open up to public comment. I know we did get a letter from a business property owner, commercial property owner, but I see the person's also here. I don't know if you wanted to speak or have the letter. Okay. Well, we could do Lottie, just so we know, if you wouldn't mind, do you feel comfortable taking the mic? And okay. Okay, that's good. Public hearing is for that.
Number one, is there any other property other than mine that fits that law?
I will write your question down and we will respond, but okay.
Right, not get an answer?
No, do you have more questions? And we could, or I could answer for, we don't necessarily have to answer, but I believe in answering. What the moratorium is, as Jay read, it's within the general business district. Your property is not an automotive service station, so I don't know what you mean specifically, but, pardon me?
It's adjacent to an automotive
Yeah.
service station. And I let the word out that the oil company had called me to know that I was interested in selling my property. And they called and said to me, they're interested in enlarging their store and having more trucks. And they would be interested in my property. So I gave him the price that Paul told me to ask.
Mhm.
Which I said, then you're insane, Paul, but all right, I honored him, and I asked the price, and, he blanched, and he said, any offer? So there is no offer on
Mm.
the, but what bothered me, I think I was more incensed at the timing of the meeting, because I don't know if anybody remembers, Rick Trotty, he was the town assessor. He used to always say, well, if we wanted something passed, we always did it over the holidays. And I said, oh, Jesus, I hate garbage. I want my town and village to be straightforward and talk to me and talk to the public without trying to hide things. And I think my letter, as far as I'm concerned, I read it. I was sitting at the typewriter. All right, and sometimes I look it up, and that's disjointed. But my thinking is, rather desultory that jumps through all sorts of topics, so I apologize for it. But I am not here to say, as far as I'm concerned, I know the people's feelings, they like to get rid of the gas station, they don't like the pumps. Well, I've convinced 4 people, just in conversation, that, well, you have a choice. You can either have the gas station as it is, or give the person a chance to improve it, or are you targeting it so that it could be, a friend of ours, all of us, I don't want to mention names, but we all know. Matter of fact, they all said to me, oh, well, what you're describing is a pretty building in the front. And if anybody's gone to the south, they have seen a sign. Paul and I went down south to look at some modular homes, and all we saw was a mobile sign or a such a sign, and we didn't see anything. We had to go behind things and it was very pleasant. We said, wow. But New York has to be visible. But the thing here is, all to a man said, don't sell it to the person who owns all of Red Hook already. And I'm saying, that's not my job. Nobody thought things of my living, and I have to think of my life. Yes, I'm gonna have hopefully I'll get a chunk of money, but that doesn't mean anything. I was hoping to keep it for income. Never mind. At this point, all I'm asking you is, why now?
I don't think there's a definitive answer, meaning what we have is a chance as we go forward to keep working on the center village. Everything we do as a board is the general business district. I think nobody could argue it's way more active, lively, vibrant, and successful now than it has been in many, many years. And one of your tenants, the Cancun restaurant, is part of that. And it's there's just a lot of street activity. And this board, our whole commitment is to keep that moving forward. Like I said, when Jay read the title of the process that we're looking here, a moratorium, it's 6 months, and it's to deal with demolition of the general business district and modification of a motor vehicle service station. Technically, you don't have a motor vehicle service station. If you're getting offers from one, you're there, but it's but yeah, no, it's. I mean, your comment would be, it'd be. I think it's not designed. It's designed to protect.
They're not even a top problem to me. If they come, 6 months is not a big deal at this point. But I've got other buyers. I don't have to sell it. My thought is, my goodness, people. And I said to someone, you prefer the gas station to stay there? Yes, look at a gas station. They're not going to move. They would like more pumps. They would like a bigger store. But not at my price. And so I said, make an offer. They haven't made an offer. I haven't even considered them. But I just don't like things slid or laws are being enacted without the public really being apprised, especially the people who are targeted. And you're telling me I'm not a gas station. Come on.
Well, you're not. But I guess 2 points. You are here, so you're aware of the public hearing. The public hearing was noticed to the king.
You're telling me it's not my problem. It's not anything to do with you. You're not a gas station. Thank you. That's what I'm hearing. Is that correct?
I'm just saying it. The moratorium is to consider allowing the expansion, modification of a motor vehicle service station. It's But anyway, what I would say is, like I referenced before, the pattern book, and I think as one reads that, there's wording that says historic or architecturally significant buildings should be protected from demolition or encroachment by incompatible structures or site development. And we have.
There's a date in on the front page.
Maybe I missed your question.
The date.
The date that
Oh, yeah. I can find it here somewhere. May 2013, so 4 years ago.
I know that there was another pattern book of form of pattern. What this, I think it was Cornell.
Yeah.
Came down and I went to the Mason's Hall. Paul and I went, and Paul said, "This is a disaster," and he was right. Thank God they didn't implement that pattern book. So, to follow a pattern book is not necessarily the way to go. All I can say is I don't want to keep this gentleman waiting because we like to have another, we talk to the gas station and say, hey, so I told them about this meeting. He says, oh, well, that kills us. I says, well, not necessarily. I says, I'll go to the meeting and see if they're still thinking. It's got to be, why can't you wait for an application? Maybe you're just saying you prefer a hotel on the corner, 3 stories high. Which was, do you know what Todd is contemplating to put up there? Did he show you pictures?
We've seen design programs, but right now it's a gas station. But anyway,
No.
thank you for your input. Well, we will mark the record that we did receive a letter from Lottie Kittner. It was about a 3-page letter. She referenced it before. I don't recognize that one, no. But,
Okay. Did he show you what it was?
yeah. Well, I know that from historic review, but that's
And so at this point, all I can say to you is, I'm not looking for something.
No, we're not. And I think what we could say is what'll happen.
Johnny said to me, you always have a meeting when Thanksgiving, when Christmas holidays, if you want to see the clock.
Well, I don't really
No, I don't
like
say
the.
you're dishonest.
Well, I think the premise is kind of odd there, but anyway, we will accept your comment. We'll accept your letter. And any other comment?
Go with it from him. I'll let you go home. Thank you. I'm sorry. I don't think anybody can take it. I'm not just saying, but I.
Good night. All right, looks like looking out at the audience, any other input on the moratorium for general business district demolition, auto service issues? Hearing none, I would ask that we entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. All right, let's see. We can therefore move on. Let's see. 3 public hearings done. Mr. Trapp, looks like in the order of things, do you have planning and zoning papers in front of you?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to go then.
I will be very brief this evening, as we have lots to get to. November 2017, monthly planning and zoning report, 5 building permits were issued. 7 certificates of occupancy were issued. 1 certificate of compliance was issued, and 3 municipal searches were conducted. 0 for all of the following orders to remedy: stop work, court appearances, and complaints. There were some fire inspections taken care of, and the planning board had 1 item of business. It looks like a discussion-only site plan, and Clark has been working through a good many fire inspections, and had a couple of long talks with him over the last couple of weeks, and he's wrestling with some pretty interesting, I guess interesting is a good word for what he's been dealing with at one of the properties in the village, where there were multiple uses going on, and it was not controlled very well in the initial permitting. So he's got to deal with some fire implications, some separation implications, and things like that. So he's working through that, and I think he's kind of got a handle on the progress on that, and I think that's enough said on that. This month, November 2017, this is a pretty good total for this time of year. We took in $1,820, which is very nicely done. I think Clark's doing a pretty darn good job up there. We both do this job, and each municipality has a very interesting nuance to it. And the village is the residential is easy. The commercial is pretty complicated because everything is 0 clearance and slammed right together, and old, and multiple co-tenancies. So I take my hat off to him in that respect. And with that,
Good.
I'm good.
Thank you, sir. let's see. If we could, let's see, we'll skip to Ms. Norris and
Okay. We had decided to not do our typical Winterfest activities because there was a lot of other competing events going on. The main one being Live It Up Red Hook Village hosting a winter celebration this coming Saturday, December 16th from 2 to 7. There'll be special holiday food and drinks at participating shops and restaurants, holiday story time at Little Pickles, hay rides from the municipal lot, and parade crafts at Annabelle's Village Bake Shop from 2 to 3:30. There will be a parade at 4:30. Do you know where that lines up?
yeah, I saw on their poster Elizabeth Street, which is in accord with what we were recommending.
Okay. And they'll light a tree in front of Yum Yum Noodle at 5 o'clock. Materials management for the month of November, we sold $4,174.50 in garbage tags and paid out $1,217.76. We had 10.35 tons of garbage and 5.7 tons of single stream recycling. We'll be holding our annual electronic recycling event on Saturday, January 13th from 8 to 12 at the Town Recycling Center. Allowable e-waste includes televisions, monitors, computers, keyboards, cables, power, that should be cords, not power cods. That's a completely different thing. Telephones, fax machines, scanners, printers, cell phones, VCR, DVR, DVD players, digital music players, digital converter boxes, cable or satellite receivers, electronic or video game consoles. There will be a charge for the old TVs, the big box things that are heavy as heck. We do have limited home pickup available. Either call the Village Hall or the Town Hall for details. This event is held with the Town of Red Hook, Village of Red Hook, and a special thanks to the Bard Center for Civic Engagement, who provides the volunteers for the day. And you mentioned earlier about compost bins. The compost bins are available through Dutchess County for $50 a bin.
Correct. Yeah, we were circulating something. It'll be on our water newsletter, and then also we're experimenting with our Twitter page. But
It's a
essentially,
Twitter account, not a Twitter page, Grandpa.
we need these 35-year-olds.
I'm not remotely 35, but thank you.
Anyway, what we would do is the county of Dutchess is offering their $50 a bin. It's the type one I use in my backyard, which saves me that in a year in garbage tag cost. And what we're looking to do, and Jen and I were talking about today, instead of having every village resident who's interested buying it from the county and driving to the county to pick one up and driving back to Red Hook, we thought if you reach out to us at Village Hall, well, the person would still pay for the bin themselves, but we could send the highway guys down and pick up 20 or 25, whatever interest we get, instead of people trying to roam around Poughkeepsie and find the place to park and get a bin and drive back and all that. So I thought it might be fun just if when you look at the newsletter and when you go to our Twitter account, you could find out more, but it's $50. Seems like a good program, and you would save that in a year, and it also saves the environment as well. So anyway, we're promoting composting, and this is a good way to do it, hopefully.
And you'll have good stuff to plant your plants in too.
Exactly, yeah. So just to touch a little bit on the first part of her report, we did have 2 meetings with the Live It Up Red Hook folks late last week, and we're pressing them to get specifics to us, because like Jen said, normally we do some of the heavy lifting and do our own event where we know what to do and who to have there and how to set it up logistically. This one, we love the energy and the initiative of the merchants, but we're trying to push them to talk to us a little more in advance and a little more in detail. But they have it in their head. They want to do this parade and they want to cover the 2 sides of Market Street. So we're going to let them conjure up the startup part at the end of Elizabeth Street, which we can control. Then our PD will come out and block the road, and they'll go down toward West Market and then disperse around Key Bank was the latest I had, and then come back to the 4 Corners for tree lighting there. Apparently Battenfeld is donating a tree that'll be somehow there, but as of tonight I don't see it anywhere. So we're not setting that up or anything. And what we can do is we'll give them, we've also met with the police sergeant just to be sure we have enough ability to protect the parade there, and we do, so we're good. So that's coming up Saturday night is the 16th, right? All right, Thank you, Jen. Let's see, we can move to water. Mr. Lang, you looking at your report there?
Surely, somewhat abbreviated, but the
Right.
water report for November 2017, during the month of November, the water treatment plant treated more water than recorded flow data is available for due to a computer failure. So flow data was only available for 26 days of the month, for which a total volume of 5,231,000 gallons was treated at an average rate of 201,000 gallons per day, which sounds very much in line with what we've been seeing in the past few months. As noted above, the plant computer that allows for the collection of flow data crashed. No data was lost, but during the time the computer was down for repair, no new data was collected. The computer was returned with software upgrades on 12/7/17, so I assume everything's running smoothly now.
That's what they tell us.
That's what they tell us. In addition, 3 samples were sent to Smith Labs in Hyde Park for bacteriological testing, and all 3 returned a negative result. And I don't have any handy conservation tips. I guess they were too busy fixing.
Right, they were working hard. When the fellow dropped it off today, the report, I said, hey, where's our usual comparison to a year ago data, which we kind of love to see, phase 2 being done. So what I did, I went, after we dropped it off and pulled out, Cindy and her staff keep a copy of each one of these reports in file. The prior year for that same month was 258,000 gallons per day. So 201 versus 258. So like Charlie said, it is seemingly staying
Pretty consistent 25%
so,
efficiency.
that's a good thing. All right. Let's see. We have Mr. Lang. Looks like we're waiting for Deputy Mayor Kowalczyk. Are you ready to go over there?
I am ready to go. Start with the Village Green Committee monthly report. Current balances of Village Green Committee's related budget accounts are as follows. Community beautification, a balance of $4,000. I did notice on the vouchers we did get our bills for the new trees and the mulch that we planted in our annual fall planting, so that number next month will be different. Shade tree contractual, we're at a negative $6,350. And again, that's because we did prune and remove a lot of trees this year. The Village Green Committee checking account remains at $4,136.88. There were no Village Green Committee meetings held during the month of November, and the Village Green Committee officers will be completing the Tree City USA renewal application during the month of December. It's due on December 31st.
Can I interrupt you, Brent?
To do, yep.
On that shade tree, generally we find another area to fund that sort of a thing. Do you have?
No, that's it.
So you're recommending. Where do we get that
I don't know. We'll see.
from? Yeah, we could talk Friday or whatever, and I'd rather not have a big negative sitting there like that.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Okay.
The Village of Red Hook Highway Department monthly report for November. The Village Highway Department is currently picking up autumn leaves, even though that was slowed down a little bit with the recent snow. Residents are still reminded to place leaves in a row along the edge of the street, the curbside, and place brush in a separate pile, and limit pile sizes to 6 feet by 6 feet by 6 feet. The Highway Department may not pick up leaves if they are combined with brush, sticks, and branches due to possible equipment damage. I think we still got some piles out there, so once the snow
It might be there to
dissipates,
March, my friend. I don't know, man. It's because it's going to snow again tomorrow, right?
maybe.
What happens when they're like in the street? I was walking my dog and I saw probably a 25 or 30 foot long row of leaves that were completely in the street. They weren't. It was like, I don't want them in my yard. They were all the way out there.
Well, they usually blow back in or cars run them over, but they'll pick them up.
They
but
shouldn't be that way at
It
the end.
shouldn't be that way.
Yep.
That's a traffic calming device, isn't
Right.
it?
There we
Yeah.
go. Just leave.
Right? Good. The village's snow ordinance is in effect until March 31st. No parking is permitted on village streets from 11 o'clock p.m. to 6 o'clock a.m. and on New York State highways, which is Route 199 and Route 9, from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. during the same period. When snow and ice removal operations are underway, any vehicle parked or abandoned on any street may be removed or under the direction of the Red Hook Village Police or any responding law enforcement agencies, and costs associated with vehicle towing and storage will be charged to the vehicle's owners. And also, because of snow, the owner and or occupant of every building lot in the village with an adjoining sidewalk shall remove snow and ice within a 24-hour period of a snowstorm. And at the direction of the village board of trustees, the village highway department may remove snow and ice left uncleared at a cost of $2 per linear foot. And this cost will be assessed and collected with the next tax levy. Scrap metal was sold on November 2nd for $316. The total revenue generated for this fiscal year is $2,159.60. Since the inception of the scrap metal recycling program in September of 2007, $24,371.17 has been generated, and any business or resident interested in donating scrap metal can contact the Highway Department at 758-8600 or the village clerk's office, and the Highway Department personnel will assist property owners by picking up scrap metal upon request. I believe that's it on that one. On the Intermunicipal Task Force and the Red Hook Infrastructure, it's kind of short because a couple meetings were, I guess, not held because of the holidays. And meetings were held for the sewer project on November 3rd and 10th and on December 1st. Approximately 100 requests for information or the sewer service questionnaires have been returned to the Village of Red Hook. Ed Vopalak, who was here from CT Mail, has been meeting with property owners within the sewer service area to review existing sewer and electrical services and to respond to questions from those property owners. Letters and questionnaires will be resent to those property owners who have yet to respond. So I think we still have about 25 outstanding, 25. So we're getting down there. And again, this is for information, for details, and on the easements for one thing, but also on the design documents to try to minimize any cost overruns to the best of our ability. We did send out a lot of documents, pre-bid requests for the sewer. USDA provided us with a pretty hefty list of required documents to be sent, and we're picking them off one by one and getting closer. So this is all necessary and required before we send it out to bid. On the Red Hook Village Water Project Phase 2, meetings were held on November 3rd and 10th, and on the 1st, the USDA Rural Development Letter of Conditions of August 1st, 2014 for the Red Hook Village Water System Improvements Phase 2 was amended on November 21st, 2017, and this as a result of the 2.2 and change.
There's 8 there, Brent.
2.28 grant that we received from the New York State Water Infrastructure Improvement Act. So, as I had mentioned before, the USDA loan has been reduced from 3.8 to 1.52 million. The New York State Drinking Water Improvement Act grant program provided us 2.28 million, which is 60% of the cost, which was great. And so we did have a form, letter of intent to meet the conditions to be requested by USDA to be completed and submitted. We did that, didn't we, last Friday? We're getting close to some.
We talked about it. What he's talking about is when we got the grant, 2.28 million, USDA knew about it and accepted it. No problems there, but they want to reduce their commitment to us from 3.8 to whatever the difference is, 1.52. And when I first got the letter, I was like, I'm not signing that. Somebody promised me 3.8 million. Now they're saying they promised me 1.5. What if something goes wrong in between? I'm not going to be sitting there.
Here's your answer.
But we had some conversations with USDA, and they confirmed that they would not be de-obligating the 3.8. They're just changing the conditions. In a way, I think it's a moot argument. The money is all there, and it's. I guess I still have a reluctance to sign the letter. But it's,
Well, on November 29th, New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation sent a memo to Bond Counsel Hawkins, Delafield, and Wood, and copied the village, our village attorneys, and EFC, with execution of copies of Amendment Number 1 to Project Financing Agreement. The Amendment Number 1 amends the Project Financing Agreement dated as of January 8th, 2015, to extend maturity date of recipient note to July 8th, 2018. So that was kind of hopefully what we were waiting for to respond to USDA, in order to allow time for the recipient, which is us, the Village of Red Hook, to complete and or finalize the project, which we are done with. This extension is a result of the village receiving the Drinking Water Infrastructure Improvement Act. So also on December 1st, in a separate title, the New York State Department of Transportation met with Ed and myself, and joining them was Mark DeBolt from the Dutchess County Transportation Council. We had quite a impressive turnout from DOT, including this Assistant Commissioner for Regions 1, 8, and 9, the Regional Director, who covers 7 counties in the Hudson Valley, Resident Engineer, and the Region 8 Signals and Permits person, along with Dan Stribe, who was our highway foreman. And we did talk about the status of our FAST grant, which is an $88,000 grant for the purchase and installation by DOT of 4 mid-block crosswalks. And these are push-button activated solar-powered signal devices that would go on the 3 crosswalks on South Broadway and 1 over on West Market Street. And we also talked about crosswalk painting and marking on a more regular and frequent basis. We talked about the Route 9 Amherst Firehouse Lane intersection conditions, which we'll be getting more in detail as the meeting progresses. We also requested and asked for assistance from DOT for the removal of snow in the general business district and adjoining sidewalks on Route 9 and 199. And we also asked for them to investigate the potential uses of bulb outs at the Route 9, Route 199 intersection and various mid-block crosswalk locations to minimize crossing time and improve safety of the pedestrians. We will have several resolutions that we'll be going through and talking about that. On the Intermunicipal Task Force, which I attend every Friday, task force meetings were held on November 3rd and 10th at the Red Hook Town Hall. And we're currently reviewing provisions in the proposed local law E regarding new construction setbacks to be consistent with existing conditions and existing buildings. And this is in the Upper Red Hook Hamlet Business District. And recommendations suggesting that the Red Hook Town Design Review Committee and other town committees review the proposed design standards of the proposed Upper Red Hook Hamlet Business District. So that's keeping us busy. And one more report. The Red Hook Economic Development Committee, I think Ed's been attending those meetings. EDC meetings were held on November 8th in the Red Hook Village Building. There was a report on Mr. Bayride and Mr. Migliorelli's public comments regarding the Red Hook Town Planning Board review process at the October 25th, 2017 Red Hook Town Board meeting. There were updates on seasonal events planned in the Red Hook Village for November and December. Ed gave some updates and status review of the Red Hook Sewer Project. They discussed the proposed Red Hook Town Local Law E, and also reviewed the draft list of the EDC 2017 priority projects list and prepare implementation plans with volunteer project leaders. The Community Preservation Fund Advisory Board, which I'm a member of, there were no meetings held during the month of November. The current balance of the Community Preservation Fund as of November 30th is $904,367.84. There were no meetings held of the Red Hook Town Zoning Review Committee. And the Saltkill Watershed Community Meeting, or community, which I'm a member of as well. The Saltkill Watershed Committee, or community, met on November 15 at the Elmendorf Inn, and various items were discussed, including flooding in our watersheds, trips for trees, stream buffers, and flood protection, and updates on the Saltkill Watershed and Flood Mitigation Assessment Project. And that's all I have.
Good. Thank you. What we can do then is move to regular business. Bullet 1, heavy truck update. Cindy, could you pull out your truck file? Do you have that with you? I'll start talking. We did a bond note 30 plus days ago. I think it came off the estoppel period December 1st or 4th, somewhere in that range. December 3rd, I guess, to be exact. Cindy and bond counsel did the paperwork processing, right, like notice and the estoppel notices and things to clarify all that for the bond counsel's file. So we're in a position to move ahead. Just to remind everybody, we put out some bids. This is for a heavy snowplow truck. Our 1996 International is biting the dust. And we had 3 different bids. We had one we're purchasing at $173,355. The board had met and come up with resolutions and so forth, how we're going to fund that. Essentially, we're borrowing $88,000. The number is stated precisely on a document here soon that we'll pull out. But we found through CHIPS and some different line items where we can put a pretty significant down payment on it, so we're not getting clobbered with principal and interest. Made it palatable, and we did need it, so it was good. So we had done, in one resolution I recall, it was 29A, where we listed the funds we'll be getting the money from, and then the remaining balance. And then we thought we might have to use the line of credit with Salisbury Bank to put any down payment just to hold things, but it turns out we don't have to put a down payment on it to hold it. They have the truck, and it's almost done. It should be delivered next week. But what Salisbury Bank does want, in supplement to our generic bond resolution, what the bond resolution does, it says the village will, in its full faith and capability as a taxing entity, be able to fund this bond. But we had the 2 choices. You might remember, one, we could go on the open bond market through capital markets, and we had some models of interest rates and payback times, but they would require a big fee for them to handle it for us, and then a lot of legal time by bond counsel to make it all happen. And we found with Salisbury Bank that within their house, they do the legal and the money is actually with them, so we save a huge percentage of money on the bond amount by not using the private market funds. So we did some models, and what I want to do is tonight, even though 29A talked about using Salisbury Bank, it was more in case we needed that line of credit. We would never want to leave the item financed through the line of credit. It's mainly designed by us for us to use when we're looking at a grant or something where we have to put some upfront money and await reimbursement. Here, this is not a grant. This is us buying a larger truck. So anyway, I have to look at my packet for, let's see, Salisbury Bank. Maybe Cindy could take her bond, her resolution numbering book out there. But what I explained so far is what's happening. I did meet with the truck company folks last week. The truck, like I said, is pretty much done. They think they can deliver it between Wednesday and Friday next week. Unfortunately, 2 snowstorms snuck in before that happened, so the guys had to work without a new truck. But what I created in front of you folks, board members, is it's essentially 29A, but the second whereas paragraph, the third whereas paragraph, we're saying where Salisbury Bank has a line of credit and offers that to the village, and the village may utilize that as a down payment conveyance method. But then I put, and the village will bond the $88,855 for 10 years at 2.9% interest with Salisbury Bank. So that first payment would not be due till next December 2018. So in our budget talks, February, March, we're gonna have to add an expense line for the truck and deal with that. So that's the change there, folks. You can see where we itemize where we're going to get the other money from to bring it down. So I would ask the clerk to give us a resolution number for that. 33.
3-3.
Everybody else have a copy? It's very important that Brent have a copy. Okay. Anyway, so what we're doing is we've cleared the bond steps. We've authorized that part. It cleared any estoppel periods. We need the truck. This deal is a good deal. Highway Department foremen and highwaymen have looked at it, and it'll be here. The one cost coming in on top of this would be is coming in yellow, and a local mobile graphics guy can wrap it red. So and then we'll letter it and a few things, but that's minimal money.
Will this increase our insurance premium or?
I would say it will a bit. Like I said, I put it on the policy area. I haven't gotten the premium change. The old truck was 1996. We were carrying a pretty good coverage amount on it, but there'll be some change. And then the other part in the resolution for all of us, we do have, you know what we should do tonight, a secondary to this. Let's declare the 1996 international surplus tonight. So we've had pretty good luck moving that through the county auction agency. So let's make a mental note. We'll do that next. And then we're still working on that FEMA recovery from Storm Stella. And we agreed we'd put both of those returns into the Highway Reserve CD toward the first bond payment. And quite frankly, I think they'll be enough to pay a few of the bond payments from what we're trying to get from Storm Stella, and then also what we think we might get for the 1996 truck. So anyway, we're calling it Resolution 33. Essentially, it's directing us through the process to borrow the money from Salisbury Bank. That's what we're doing here, but not the line of credit through regular. So I would offer that we adopt Resolution 33 as a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, I explained it there. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. While we're on it, let's, in just the form of a motion, let's say, Cindy, are you able to write there? You good? In follow-up to Resolution 33, proceeds from the 1996 international truck are referenced there. We need to declare that 1996 surplus and move it through the absolute auction under the umbrella of Dutchess County. Is there a second on that?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
They seem to think it's got to a regional large lot snowplower. I think they were saying 8,000 or 9,000.
Is it in one piece or two pieces we're talking?
It's still in one piece.
It's still in one, and somebody not going on the open road and that sort of thing. You know, where you just park it in the lot and drive it around. And so anyway, so we've moved it to surplus. So next day or two, we'll have to call the auction. I'll call them and stuff. All right. So that was heavy truck update done. Amherst Road study update, DOT. These are some of my words. Brent reported on a lot there. We do have some resolutions to deal with that. I thought I'd show you something. Like Brent said, we're leaning on DOT on different requests ranging from timing phases at the infamous Four Corners to some drainage issues we're seeing arise down in the Garden Street corner. So we brought them in, and we were surprised that one name he mentioned, and I threw up there before I sent a formal thank you letter to the regional commissioner. They brought down some pretty heavy-hitting folks. It wasn't just us dealing with the local DOT here on Rokeby. And they listened to us, and they were part of our, quote, Friday brainstorming day. And a few of them threw out some kind of zany ideas, too, which one of their own poo-pooed a little bit, but I said, no, that's what we do on Fridays. We try to throw ideas up. But like I said, we had big people there, so we're a couple things we have to do that they agreed to do, certain things they would not agree to do, which I can explain more. But the big concept we kept saying is, in our case, the Village of Red Hook Main Street is a state highway. We have their issues become our issues, but we can't resolve them because they're their issues. It's a kind of a catch-22 sometimes, whether it be the parade or whatever, no parking, time parking, pedestrian crosswalks. So a couple of Brent talked about the FAST grant. We're all wondering, and we're kind of joking, even at the meeting, FAST is going pretty slow all of a sudden. I was kind of hoping we'd have that up and working by the end of this season, but they couldn't really even commit.
There's apparently a patent infringement.
Yeah.
The Federal Highway Administration has asked them not to install any more of these devices until that settlement's been resolved. So that's what we heard. If they had them in stock, they could install them. If they had to order them, they prefer they wait until the settlement's been resolved. So we're looking at alternative possibilities for our signaling devices. But I did notice the town had theirs already up, so.
It's been in an ordered batch or whatever. But the third bullet, I thought some pretty good results, but I wanted the board to think about it and also the public to know about it. This year, remember how we had to push them to do the crosswalks? We thought they'd be done by the summer. Then it was coming up on Hardscrabble Day, and they weren't done yet. So I finally had to lean on a lot of people, and they did show up and paint by Hardscrabble Day. And we were told that they were on a 3-year schedule, which is way too long for our crosswalks.
Actually,
But at the
4 year.
meeting, they said, no, it's a 4-year schedule. I was like, what?
Even worse.
3-year didn't work. 4 years can't work. But the guy, Tom, the assistant commissioner, Tom McIntyre, said that they're entertaining and promoting something called shared services. And I think it has some good merit for us. And maybe Brent could perk his ears here. He was there, but what did that mean? They said, well, we could hire under our budget people we use locally, and they would work on the DOT crosswalks, and then whatever the cost was to us, they would share services back. And the most amenable share back seemed to be from their salt shed, somehow getting something there. So it would mean we'd have to lay money out, and then it would reduce, theoretically, expenses we pay to the town of Red Hook. But it seemed like a pretty good, I can't think of what else we necessarily share too much with them. So when we do our Four Corners cleaning, once in a while they'll throw in a truck, but they've historically never charged us for that or anything. But anyway, that was something I think we have to keep in our heads. We'll probably be good with crosswalk for a year or two, but at some point, 2 years out, we should take them up on that. And I think we would have to paint it to their specs, which is good. It's raised and it's got the gritty, reflective glass sand in it. So keep that in mind. The big thing, Amherst Lane, Firehouse Lane, we talked about it a lot, and we were arguing, well, in a modern age, why do we need a 4-corner square 90-degree intersection where we have to buy, condemn, aggravate, somehow do all the engineering expenses to make that corner square? They didn't seem to think there was any real modern way to answer that question, but they did say that they would restudy it. Right now, the county agreed to put on Firehouse Lane and Amherst some traffic counting strips. But the one resolution we have here, we can ask Cindy to give us a number. It's a resolution requesting New York State Department of Transportation study traffic light need at Route 9 and Amherst Road, Firehouse Lane, Village of Red Hook. So there was some old project half started back around 2002 on this, but between changes and different things over that 15-year period, they said they'd be willing to look at it. But I didn't get really excited. They said, get us something that sustains board support. And
But the good thing is about that is that it is listed in the Moving Dutchess 2 documents that was effective April 1st, 2016, where the assessment was to analyze the possibility of converting the Route 9 Firehouse Lane Amherst Road intersection to a standard 4-way intersection by moving Firehouse Lane to the north and install a traffic signal and pedestrian and bicycle safety improvements at the intersection. What we discussed at the meeting was this seemed kind of like a very costly and almost very hard thing to do if there's alternates in us studying something. So this resolution will be basically to provide acknowledgement that we want the study to be further investigated on what to do there. That's that intersection.
What Brent's reading, I think that's what we got and follow up from Mark DeBall. Is that what you're reading there? Yeah. A day or two or a week after the meeting, Mark from the county wrote to us and highlighted what Brent just read. But essentially, I think it behooves us to remind DOT, and when you think of it, we don't really have the wherewithal to do the engineering and the road reconstruction. Yeah, you're talking real serious money there. It's and it leaves that abutting owner with essentially a road like 4 inches off his south window, so to speak. You know, if it were to go that route. So I would like to believe that with modern systems, is a better way to put upright lights and make it work a little bit differently. But the resolution, essentially, we're saying Amherst Road, Firehouse, let's see, Village Center, let's see. We cite where we have traffic issues at Amherst Road, Firehouse Lane. We have no direct control. The village board is seeking improvement options at this intersection, including a traffic light or other control mechanisms at the intersection to regulate vehicle and pedestrian flow so vehicles can better enter Route 9 from Firehouse Lane and Amherst Road, whereas there is a need to have the most current mechanism and design available so traffic and pedestrians can move as freely as possible, whereas the next step is to have a New York State DOT do a current traffic study. Therefore, be it resolved, the village board of the Village of Red Hook asks that NYS DOT do a warrant study of the traffic flow at this intersection to see if traffic light is required. So I would offer that as a motion. I think it'd be Res 34.
I'll second.
You'll second? Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Same discussion line, we'll call it Resolution 35. We talked about the famous existing light, and we point out to them that all the work we're doing is to make the village center more attractive, more vibrant, more sustainable, and that light still totally befuddles me, and I think most folks that drive through it. We weren't quite sure how smart the smartness of it is. But the whereas there, we were essentially saying DOT owns and controls the traffic light and the timing phase control mechanisms at the intersection and designs the patterns to regulate vehicle and pedestrian flow. Whereas there is a need to have the most current program and phase control available so traffic and pedestrians can move as freely as possible. And whereas there appears to be inconsistent phase control and resisting vehicle traffic delays at the computer sensor controlled intersection, therefore be it resolved that the village board of the Village of Red Hook asks that NY DOT re-examine traffic flow both on site and with any technical means, I put in parentheses, modem, to bring the traffic control up to the most current and efficient software and hardware options. The reason I threw the word modem in there is they brought that up, that they might be able to insert a modem where they could study it remotely somehow, which instead of standing there on the four corners observing, it seemed like they might. So I would like them to move forward with that. I'm entitling it Resolution 35. Is there a second on that?
Second.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, just again going back to the highway operations category of moving Dutchess 2, they talked about evaluating and changing the Route 9 199 signal timing in the Village of Red Hook to incorporate a standard pedestrian crossing where people cross with parallel traffic. And they also talked about evaluating the feasibility of adding curb extensions and removing some parking spaces to increase the visibility of people crossing, increasing yielding, shortening crossing distances on Route 9 and 199. So that it's good to have these in the plan because it kind of gives us a little bit more meat to our actions. But
Yeah. In line with that, they did talk about dropping it instead of a full four-way block to a two-way block. But as I recall, this board thought about that 5 or so years ago, and
we were told that by the DOT that it wouldn't be a good idea.
Anyway, Res 35, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye. Don't like the loss of parking places too
Couple of quick
much.
things. We noticed heavy downbursts are resulting in ponding at Route 9. They agreed they would meet with Highway Foreman Dan Strive and look at it and consider. We made the argument that it's their highway, their catch basins, their issue to deal with. And it seemed like they would come back and look at that when Dan Strive comes to that. The other one, snow season, like Brent mentioned, his main report. Our business center and new sidewalks, I think, are plagued by plowed snow from DOT trucks. Our code requires 24-hour cleanup. Some residents just can't do it because you roll that snow with sand and plow composition is just, it's humanly impossible in many cases to move. We have to come out and use our equipment and subcontractors. So we pushed as hard as we could, right, Brent? Trying to bring them, but they wouldn't move on it. It's not, they maintain curb to curb, and it's our problem to deal with, and we pushed back and forth. Couldn't come up with a win on that. Kind of gives me a segue. We were talking about taking that 625 length. It's not right in the business center, but West Market by the 8-foot tall brick wall. I've asked council how to do that, and he said he's talking with NICOM. We're thinking if we put in that seasonal sidewalk thing. Unfortunately, it's kind of the season now. I was kind of hoping to have this done before the snow flied. But it's at the moment not done. I'm trying to push him maybe for our Thursday, 21 December meeting. We might have something where we could work on that. We talked about some more crosswalks, but that's it. Okay. So we got second bullet done. Resolution sewer use law. In your packets, you should have from council. Will that be number 35, Cindy? 36. Essentially, we're taking the 56-page embodiment that we've. I'm missing a person. Bear with us while we. I'm missing a trustee. In the effort of keeping things moving in the general business section, I added something. I had a communication from Panda, the new president, Eric Ryback, and he wants to come to our Friday brainstorming meeting this Friday. So I booked him up for 11 o'clock. So, and then I guess, what they're looking for is we gave them a half-year commitment, and that we still don't have a contract signed or anything, but they're going to be looking for what our intentions are and what we want to do. So I'll meet him Friday and we can talk on 21 December too. Charlie, in your departure for 90 seconds or whatever, we're pulling from our packets resolution on the sewer. We're going to number it number 36. And could do.
There was a typo, whereas number 3.
Pardon me?
There's a typo.
What are you looking at there, sir?
Resolution for the sewer use law.
Is this what you're looking at? What do you see it through?
You have a different one.
Oh, it is a little different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you have one there? You should have.
These are all-
This has the same typo though, so that's fine.
Okay.
Same what?
Typo.
Where do you see that? Where you reading?
Third whereas, second line, it says adapted, a negative declaration should be adopted.
But you were seeing a 3 somewhere, or what was that 3? Okay.
In the third paragraph is what he said.
So
Adopted, not adopted.
you're just seeing a grammatical error. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was not following what you were saying. So what I was
Accident,
starting to say is, just to confirm, we held a public hearing earlier tonight, and I would like to move this to a vote to get it adopted so we can incorporate it in our code formally. We have some whereases here. We're going to 36. Whereas the attached local law adopting the Village of Red Hook sanitary sewer use law was introduced by the Board of Trustees goes back, believe it or not, to October 16th when we started talking about it in certain formats. And then whereas a public hearing was held on December 11th, 2017 at 7 p.m. at the Village Hall with our address, notice of said hearing had been provided in accordance with law, in which time all interested parties had an opportunity to be heard. And whereas on February 18, the Village Board of Trustees of the Village of Red Hook, this is February 18, 2016, the Board of Trustees of the Village of Red Hook adopted a negative declaration under the SEQR, State Environmental Quality Review Act, having determined that there are no adverse environmental impacts associated with the proposed sewer project. Now therefore be it enacted by the Board of Trustees of the Village of Red Hook the following: the Village of Red Hook Sanitary Sewer Law, and Chapter 145 of the Village Code entitled Sewers is hereby adopted as annexed here too. And that's what you have in your packet. It's called Sewers. The amendments shall take effect immediately upon filing in the Office of Secretary of State in accordance with Section 27 of the Municipal Home Rule Law, and it's dated today. So I would offer that as a motion that we adopt Resolution 36. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
So B and K, any other discussion? What the resolution is citing there, it's just for the record saying that we did seeker back in February, so that's why that date there, and then we've had it aging on your desks. That other October date is referencing that. So we have a motion and a second, and call for a vote. There I'll go down. Mr. Lang?
Aye.
And Ms. Norris? I vote yes. Mr. Kowalczyk?
Yes.
And Mr. Trapp?
Aye.
Thank you very much. It's an exciting moment for Red Hook and all of us. Resolution, procurement mods, best value, okay. So again, we had the public hearing. We talked about the reasons to move toward adopting best value and the piggybacking options in our procurement. So we need to revise our procurement policy to do so. I don't know, Mr. Trapp, you feel like reading some of this? It looks like it's a lot of reading here, but
Do you want to read all of this, or are there specific sections that would be more appropriate?
I think specific sections, if you could read the be it resolved, and then the first paragraph of piggybacking, and then. Okay. Would you be so inclined, sir?
Sure, so the first paragraph and then section 1 probably be sufficient. What do you think?
Well, I think 50.41, and then if you go to the best value, let's see, section 2. Why don't you do page 1 and I'll jump in on page 2.
Okay, sure. Be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Village of Red Hook that this resolution amends Chapter 50 of the Code of the Village of Red Hook titled Procurement Policy to authorize purchasing based on best value and to set forth requirements for piggybacking purchases as follows. Section 1, so that Chapter 50 of the Code of the Village of Red Hook is amended to add a new Section 50-4.1 as follows. 50-4.1 Piggybacking. A. Notwithstanding the provisions of this Chapter 50 procurement policy, the Village of Red Hook may, for the purposes of public purchases, utilize provisions of the New York State General Municipal Law, Section 103, with regard to the so-called piggybacking of purchases. Pursuant to the New York State General Municipal Law, Section 103, the Village of Red Hook may purchase through bids solicited by the U.S. government, New York State, and or any other state political subdivision, which includes counties, towns, school districts, etc., provided those contracts clearly state that they are available or used by other governmental entities within the requirements of New York General Municipal Law, Section 103, parenthetic 16. Prior to such purchase, the Village of Red Hook will ensure that a piggyback purchase qualifies as follows. 1. The contract must have been let by the United States or any agency there, any state, or any political subdivision or district therein. 2, contract involved must have been available for use by other governmental entities through the bid solicitation process. In such case, the Village of Red Hook should determine that there is contained within the bidding political subdivision's bid package a provision that the bid is open to and can be used by either the Village of Red Hook or other municipalities. This determination should be made on a case-by-case basis. Number 3, the specific contract must have to let to the lowest responsible or on the basis of best value and in accordance with or in a manner consistent with the provisions of, and then we go to section 2.
I'll pick up there.
Okay, very good.
As you were reading, I noticed we have to insert the letter F. I think as Jay was reading in paragraph A, 1, 2, 3, 4 lines up. It says state that they are available or use. I think that should be the word for use there. Does that make sense? Do you see where I am there? So I think we have to insert an F. And then as Jay was reading, he just overread one word in subparagraph 3. The specific contract must have been let to the lowest responsible or on the basis of best value. I think he skipped one word there. Everybody listening in the audience. Then it takes us to the reference to best value, which we're actually amending the law in accord with what we want to do here. Purchasing based on best value. It says New York Municipal Law 103 requires competitive bidding for purchase contracts and public works contracts and has historically required that such bids be awarded to the lowest responsible bidder whose bid meets the requirements of specifications for the project. Section 103 was amended to provide that by adopting a resolution so providing, municipalities may award purchase contracts which would otherwise be subject to, quote, the lowest bidder, end quote, rule on the basis of best value as defined in State Finance Law 163 to a responsive and responsible bidder or offerer. Then there's a couple of notwithstanding type words. Notwithstanding the provisions of this Chapter 50 procurement policy, the Village of Red Hook hereby determines that it is in the best interest of its residents to have the authority to award purchase contracts on the basis of best value. Factors that may be used to enact the best value option where cost efficiency over time to award the goods or services to other than the lowest bidder include but are not limited to lowest cost of maintenance for goods or services, durability of goods or services, higher quality of goods or services, longer product life of goods or services. The Village of Red Hook may award purchase contracts, including contracts related to the installation, maintenance, or repair of apparatus, equipment, and supplies, but excluding any purchase contracts necessary for the completion of a public works contract pursuant to Labor Law Article 8 on the basis of best value as defined in State Finance Law Section 163 to a responsive and responsible bidder or offerer. Where the basis for award is the best value offer, the Village of Red Hook shall document in the procurement record and in advance of the initial receipt of offers the determination of the evaluation criteria, which wherever possible shall be quantifiable, and the process shall be used in the determination of best value and the manner in which the evaluation process and selection shall be conducted. Where appropriate, the solicitation shall identify the relative importance and or weight of cost and the overall technical criterion to be addressed by the Village of Red Hook in its, look at typo there too, in its determination of best value. The election to award any such contract on basis of best value shall be made by the Board of Trustees. In the event that no such election is made, purchase contracts will continue to be awarded to the lowest responsible bidder, furnishing any required security in accordance with this chapter. Then the last paragraph is that technical severability wording, which if any clause or sentence paragraph of this resolution shall be judged by a court of competent jurisdiction, invalid or unconstitutional. It's sort of a boilerplate statement there. So essentially we're setting ourselves up where we can do some piggybacking and some best value options. We've labeled it Resolution 37. We've read it. I would offer it to be adopted as a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. think while we're on that, let's move to the LED street lighting part. In your packet should be another resolution authorizing participation in the Mid-Hudson Streetlight Consortium. Just as background, what we did back in September, we generated a letter after some meetings here amongst ourselves, public meetings, where we were stating that we wanted to be part of the consortium. And about, I don't know, a week or two ago, the consortium manager, a subcontractor to NYSERDA, said, well, they'd also like a resolution. I said, well, okay, but we don't meet again until December 11th, which is tonight. And I went through the resolution. As you all recall, it's the town of Red Hook. If you look within the body of the document you have there, toward the back, there are what's called invitees, Exhibit B. I think the count's up to 18 or so. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's up to 20 right there. And in the text of the document, there's an administrative agency. The town of Red Hook, and in particular Robert McKeon from the town, has been acting as the administrative participant. So they're using their counsel and a lot of their time to work on the RFP and so forth. But the RFP is to go out and solicit the installation and service contractor. We head this direction. So anyway, circulate the cooperation agreement. A couple important things to me is it upfront doesn't cost us any money. We've looked at those studies, and Charlie's been working on it, where we project where we can probably save in the tune of $40,000 a year if this all goes through. We had some spreadsheets we looked at. Paragraph 9 on page 4 talks about termination. Any party may terminate at any time as to its own participation upon 30 days notice to other parties. As far as I can see, the only hang up, we have to get the RFPs. We're projecting that $40,000 savings with what's presumed to be the market to install and do follow-up service contracts. Yeah, I think if the RFPs came in crazy high, we would have to reevaluate for us. But right now, I think the best choice is to move forward and see how we do.
Right, and if we decide that the choice for a service provider is not a good one, or for some reason we don't want to go that route, then we have all the rights to do something else. I mean, so we're not ultimately obligated to do very much about it.
Yeah, so what they're using it for is to show a service bidder what he's bidding on, like who's really in, so to speak, and then he can then make his pricing and his rate basis in a better format. So I would like to get this done tonight. And I lost track of my resolutions. What am I? This one, I'll read a little bit, and we're essentially talking about the cooperation agreement, but let me just see the back of that. Yeah, in the back of the cooperation on page 7 is a place for me to sign. So that's what we'll be sending to the consortium.
You said the town of Red Hook is an invitee? Because they weren't listed on this list. But
On the back page.
yeah.
Could be, they are actually, in the body of the word, they're described as the administrative participant, I think. Let's see.
They're the very last, I think.
If you look at page 3, Brent, under paragraph 5, management, the administrative participant shall be the town of Red Hook. So it could be that they're cited there, so they're different from an invitee. Invitee, that's an old insurance term, right? All right, Res 38, resolution authorizing participation in Mid-Hudson Streetlight Consortium. Charlie, you feel like reading in the, using some language there?
Did not seem to actually have a copy of it in my
Here you
box.
go, sir.
I'd be happy to. Do you want me to read through
Yeah, just
first few whereases? Whereas Article 5G of the New York State General Municipal Law authorizes municipal corporations to enter into cooperative agreements for the performance or exercise of services, functions, powers, or activities on a cooperative or contract basis among themselves or one for the other. And whereas Section 119N of the General Municipal Law defines the term municipal corporation for the purposes of Article 5G as a county outside the city of New York, a city, a town, a village, a board of cooperative educational services, a fire district, or a school district. And whereas the Village of Red Hook is a municipal corporation as defined above, whereas this board wishes for this municipal corporation to become or remain a participant pursuant to the Municipal Cooperation Agreement for the Mid-Hudson Streetlight Consortium dated the 11th day of December 2017, brackets the agreement among municipal corporations collectively identified as the Mid-Hudson Streetlight Consortium, brackets the consortium, upon the terms of the agreement, and further wishes to authorize participation as a prospective purchaser of services related to the energy efficiency and follow-on maintenance of municipal street lighting systems as specified below. And whereas it has been determined by this board that contracts for the conversion of municipal street lighting fixtures to LED technology and for ongoing maintenance and warranty service of municipal street lighting systems require the exercise of specialized and/or technical skills, expertise, and knowledge, and therefore are not subject to the sealed competitive bidding requirements under General Municipal Law Section 103, and may instead be awarded using the request for proposals process permitted by General Municipal Law 104B. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees and the Village of Red Hook hereby determines that as it is in the interests of the Village of Red Hook, hereinafter participant, to participate in the consortium, authorizes and directs the Mayor, in his absence the Deputy Mayor, to sign the agreement on participants' behalf, and further authorizes its officers and employees to execute such other documents and take such other actions as may be necessary or appropriate to carry out the intent of this resolution. Shall I keep going?
I'll do page 2, I guess.
Okay.
And be it further resolved that the participant agrees to participate in the municipal cooperative solicitation of offers, proposals for services related to the energy efficiency conversion and follow-on maintenance and warranty service of municipal street lighting systems pursuant to the agreement and subject to subsequent approval by this board. Be it further resolved that the participant authorizes the administrative participant, and that's what we call the town of Red Hook, to prepare, advertise, disseminate an RFP containing appropriate details and bid specs as the administrative participant deems appropriate, to solicit proposals from a pool of qualified contractors, hereinafter referred to as offerers, to assist participants with the energy efficiency conversion of municipal street lighting systems, and to provide follow-on warranty and maintenance services, and to open proposals and to select one or more offerers on behalf of the participant in accordance with such bid specification, subject to subsequent approval by this board, our board, on the basis of best value as is determined by the administrative participant, or to reject any or all such proposals. And be it further resolved that the offerers and employees of participant are authorized to execute such other documents and take such other actions as may be necessary or appropriate to carry out the intent of this resolution. So, and then in the actual agreement, that's what we're talking about. It's enabling me to sign that and then move it ahead. So essentially, we're moving forward to get the RFP is what it boils down to. Get this. So I'd offer resolution 38 be moved and passed. Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Let's see. Moratorium and GBD. All right. We have a public hearing on this. And we have to give this a resolution number as well.
In your packet should be the resolution to deal with the moratorium, and then should be the actual local law that we'd be putting in place that would be the basis in reality of the moratorium. So I guess, Cindy, do you have a local law book too there?
Yeah,
4? So just to recap, we heard some public input, but with our look at the pattern book and sewer coming in and different things, I think we just have a chance now to work a little bit more. What you'll see included in the text, and we talked about at some other meetings, was at the same time we do this, we'd like to create a zoning review committee, which would be a subgroup. We were talking about 2 board members who expressed interest, and then we thought a representative from the planning board would be good, so the input comes from them and gets back to them with whatever we decide. So we can do that secondary to this, naming those people, but it seems like at one of our meetings we had consensus at least on 2 of the folks. And then I was thinking, in the interest of efficiency and things, 3 might be a total, where you can get people together and have action taken and decisions made relatively quickly. We're giving ourselves 6 months to work on it. Jaybird, let's see.
Yes, sir.
If you wanted, let's see, I highlighted a few things, but essentially we're going to reduce the potential adverse impact in the 4 corners. We know we have 2 automobile service stations in our GBD. We have a 3rd one off in the Highway Business District, so we're really just dealing with the GBD, General Business District, on this. So we're looking to somehow control and keep compliance with our pattern book as best we can. And the moratorium just gives us some time for a special committee to look at options and work things up. So I thought maybe we would read. Jay, do you want to read the local law? And do you feel like you want to do page 1? And
Okay, so what is it? It's like 7 pages. Okay. Let's see. I'll just start at section 1, the legislative intent. Be it enacted by the Board of the Trustees of the Village of Red Hook as follows. Section 1, legislative intent and findings. The Village of Red Hook has authorized a zoning review committee to review the current zoning in the general business district and to recommend amendments to implement provisions of the village's comprehensive plan, specifically patterns for downtown as set forth in the pattern book and architectural guidelines, parenthetic, the pattern book, which was incorporated into the village's comprehensive plan by resolution dated February 10, 2014, and with the Greenway Compact Program and Guides for Dutchess County Communities, parenthetic, the Greenway Guides. The Village Board, in order to consider, formulate, and amend its local laws and regulations in accordance with the village's comprehensive plan, the Greenway Guides, and with the Zoning Review Committee's recommendations, and to reduce the potential adverse effect of the taking of action during the pendency of its planning considerations, finds that it is in the public interest to enact this local law. This local law prohibits the following. 1, application for consideration or approval of any demolition permit by the building inspector or planning board in the general business district for a structure greater than 120 square feet. And 2, application for consideration or approval of any site plan, special use permit, area variance, use variance, or building permit for the establishment, expansion, or modification of a motor vehicle service station in the general business district. For purposes of the moratorium, the definition of a motor vehicle service station is expanded to include associated retail stores. The Village Board finds that a moratorium for 6 months is necessary and in the public interest of the residents of the Village of Red Hook who otherwise may be adversely affected by the changes in use occurring during dependency of the planning process, and that a moratorium is a type 2 action under SEQR, State Environmental Quality Review Act regulations, and is not subject to environmental review. Number 2, moratorium. A moratorium is hereby imposed from the effective date of this local law for a period of 6 months thereafter on one application for consideration or approval of any demolition permit by the building inspector or planning board in the general business district for a structure greater than 120 square feet. And 2, application for consideration or approval of any site plan, special use permit, area variance, use variance, or building permit for the establishment, expansion, or modification of a motor vehicle service station, including any associated retail facility in the general business district. Number B, the planning board shall not consider any applications for the site plan review or special use permit approval for any application enumerated in Section 2A, 1 or 2 of this law, including any such application currently pending before the planning board for the term of this moratorium. Number C, no building permit or demolition permit shall be issued for any application enumerated in Section 2A, 1 or 2 of this law, including any such application currently pending before the building inspector for the term of this moratorium. Number D, the Zoning Board of Appeals shall not consider any application for an area or use variance for any application enumerated in Section 2A, 1 or 2 of this law, including any such application currently pending before the Zoning Board of Appeals for the term of this moratorium. Number 3, hardship waiver. A, the village board may waive provisions of this moratorium upon the application of an owner of property upon which an application prohibited by this moratorium would have been a permitted principal or special permit use in the absence of this moratorium, provided that the applicant demonstrate that the village board can find, based upon competent evidence, that number 1, the application of the moratorium to this applicant's property will cause the applicant substantial economic hardship. Number 2, the proposed use of the property will not harm the public health, safety, and welfare. And number 3, the proposed use of the property is consistent with the comprehensive plan of the Village of Red Hook, including, without limitation, the pattern book and compatible with the surrounding land uses. Number B, upon submission of the written application to the village clerk by the property owner seeking a hardship waiver of this moratorium, the village board shall, within 32 days of the receipt of such application, schedule a public hearing. Public notice of such hearing shall be given at least 5 days prior to the date thereof in the official newspaper of the village. At said public hearing, the property owner and other parties wishing to present evidence with regard to the application shall have an opportunity to be heard, and the village board shall, within 32 days of the close of said public hearing, render its decision either granting with or without conditions or denying the application. Number 4, supersession of village law. This law supersedes sections 7-712A, 7-712B, 7-725A, and 7-725B of the Village of New York law. Penalties for violation. In the event of violation of this law, the penalties shall be those listed in section 200-51 of the Village Code of the Village of Red Hook. Number 6, severability. Should any sections or provisions of this law be determined by courts to be unconstitutional or invalid, such decisions shall not affect the validity of the local law as a whole or any part thereof other than the part so decided to be unconstitutional or invalid. Section 7, effective date. This local law shall take effect immediately upon filing in the office of the Secretary of State of New York as provided by law. And the extractive minutes are included in some more little housekeeping. But that's the substance, the certificate of recording officer, and Cindy gets to sign and so forth there.
I would like to mention that this has received review by the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development and came back as a matter of local concern. This is dated 11/16/17.
What date, 11,
11/16/17.
thanks.
I would say date required, date requested, date received. November 16, 2007, date response requested. That was when it was requested, yeah.
On the board, I have something looking through my piles. So Jay read the text of it. What I'd like to do is put a resolution on the floor just to adopt local law number 4. Council drew one up. I have it up on the wall, but essentially it's resolution by the village board of the Village of Red Hook authorizing adoption of local law, placing a 6-month moratorium on all applications and permits for demolition of a structure over 120 square feet, and for establishment, expansion, or modification of a motor vehicle service station in the general business district. So Jay read the body of the law. The resolution talks about public hearings and notifications. And then tonight, let's see, clerk published a notice of said public hearing in the official newspaper, the Kingston Daily Freeman, which goes to some discussion in public comment. I can assure the public there's never intent to time in a particular part of a year to work on something. We work on things as we need to. We meet in November, December, January. People are welcome to be here, and we try to be open. Yeah, yeah. Within the body of the resolution too, what Brent just read out, there is a whereas on November 15th, Dutchess County Planning did a no comment that this was a matter of local concern. And it looks like what we'll have to do from the clerk's perspective, once we talk more and vote tonight, we'd have to get this up to the Secretary of State pretty timely so it can be filed there. So toward the end of the whereases, said public hearing was held on December 11th at said time, said place, and all parties in attendance were permitted an opportunity to speak on behalf of or in opposition to said proposed local law or any part thereof. And whereas the final form of said proposed local law, to be known as local law number 4, is on file with the village clerk. Now therefore be it resolved, the Board of Trustees of the Village of Red Hook, as follows. The board hereby adopts said local law 4. I'll put a 4 in here. Entitled, and it's the title we read at the beginning. The village clerk is hereby directed to enter said local law in the minutes of this meeting in the village code of the Village of Red Hook and give due notice to the adoption of said local law to Secretary of State of New York and take all their actions as may be required by law. And then there's the law itself, again, that Jay read us. So anyway, I would offer, I guess we have to give this a resolution number, Ms. Cindy? Let's see, 3-9. And then I would offer 3-9 for a second, that we adopt the 6-month more. Is there a second? We had some discussion as we went through it. Brent had some input. Any other discussion from the board? Therefore, let's vote. All in favor? Aye. Sounds like unanimous. Thank you. All right. The last one has the word resolution, but it's not really going to be a resolution. What we're looking at was in the phasing of the sewer process, we did the adoption of the sewer regulations tonight. We do have to do another, by rule, another public hearing just on how we establish the rate basis. We touched on it with that one EDU chart we had up. Council's working on that. I'm thinking I'd like to do it at a regular meeting where things are here and so forth. The next time I think we can do it is with certain things that we want to get done and reviewed. I'm thinking we will intend to set that for a February meeting. So it's a little ways out.
Now, what is the procedure if there happens to be a blizzard on February 12th? Are we
Okay, I didn't know,
Phone
if-
call.
I just didn't know how it worked.
Well, yeah, that's, I'm not sure what your question's about. This is a little more complex.
No, my question is we set the public hearing for February 12th. There's a blizzard on February 12th. We can't meet. How does that work? Do we then have to do
We
another 30 days for another public hearing, or can we have a snow date in that public hearing?
It's not 30, it was 10.
Or
was the
whatever it
public
is,
hearing.
can we?
I would say the clerk could put a notice on the door due to inclement weather, building's closed, nobody's here tonight, and we would reschedule it, something, we'd have to get it out and do it, you know, with
Okay, it's just,
constraints.
you know, we're getting to
Yeah.
snow season, and I just want to make sure that we're not.
But what's unique about this one, and Brent was just touching on it, it'll be a public hearing, but we actually specifically invite each of the 107 people. And whether or not they all show up, it says 89 people can be in here. But anyway, so what it boils down to is letters have to go out. And we do have the master spreadsheet that has addresses, which we're sending people letters from. But I think to get it all together and with the holidays and offices and staff, not just us, but the engineers and lawyers and everybody, there's a lot of days down in the next 3 or 4 weeks. And then the meeting in January is pretty early in January. So it wouldn't give a lot of working days between now and that January meeting to get it out. So quite frankly, I don't think we'll even set it tonight. That's why I'm saying there's no resolution. I just want to let you know, it'll probably be February. So
So we would set this at maybe January's meeting?
yeah, we'll set it formally and then she can notice. Well, we'll have to do a notice through her channels, but those letters have to go out too. And I don't see that coming from our staff.
Ed
That's
will do that.
Ed, not the other Ed, okay. Okay. But anyway, that's that. Wrapping up, we talked about Panda before. I'll meet them Friday. We did resolve the police contract. We were in executive session last time we all met. They're cleaning up a few what I would call grammatical and structural. They're still referencing some 2014 info. They've cleaned that up to 2017. Essentially, it gives a 1.5% raise across different lines. We extended out that 5-year step scale system to 7 years, so it's a little bit less increase each year, so to speak. And we did make one other change where we had they had certain paid holidays that didn't match up to highway and what we give the non-union staff. So we matched up, I think it was Veterans Day that we give them. They still have to work and everything, but it's police are really a different world. They work 7 days a week, 16 hours a day. But anyway, so that's all done. They did clean that up and we're good. So we'll ask, it'll be effective June 1, go 3 years. And what they're going to do, since there was some delay on the union part 2, any retro pay will only go to July 1 of 2017. We said we can't, we're trying, and the 1 month, it's not all our side, it's both sides. So so what I envision happening is that 1.5%, the manager, they'll have to get the treasurer some numbers as hours worked in that
I can get
July.
that easy.
Yeah. And then we'll have to sit and look at, okay, this guy did make $22.10 an hour, now he makes $23.05, whatever the difference. And then, but it'll be subject to tax and all the normal things. So I thought maybe we'd get Michelle to help. Somebody,
It's not hard.
depends what's going on. That's good. General business from the board, other things we didn't touch on, talk about, think about. And then from the public, we see 2 faces out there hanging in there. So what's up?
On the truck.
Yes. Oh,
Why take $2,000, wrap the doors?
the doors?
Open one, and that's it. Wrap's not gonna last 20 years anyway. We wrap it every 5 or 6 years.
Oh, yeah. So it's a thought. And then have like a yellow nose and a red door.
I mean, who knows what's gonna be available to turn around when you get here.
How about we make it,
It's yellow. Yellow doesn't fade as much as red does.
maybe we'll wrap the nose red and call it Rudolph.
Very nice, Ed.
But yeah, it's I know Kevin, the local mobile graphics guy, is the guy we talked to. We could bring it up to him. So doors, nose. Okay, anything else? I think we did have some vouchers down here. There's one, can I tell that gray packet? I don't know if the lads at the other end, these, before we go, these are some sewer related vouchers. And, it's different from the regular vouchers. I think we're done, everybody. It was complicated and detailed, but it's over. Unless there's anything else anybody has on their mind, I think we still should hold our workshop 21 December because a few things seem like there might happen there. I would entertain a motion that we pay bills after audit.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
And then, I know Brent's somewhat distracted, but you want to go with your,
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn this evening's meeting.
is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Happy holidays, everybody. Good night.